You are listening to Sean Harrison on Amp Life Talk Radio, a place for amputees and those dealing with limb loss. The views expressed on the show by the host, co-hosts, and guests are their own. Always seek medical advice from a licensed medical professional.
And I would like to say welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you are all hearing me out there. I'm a little rusty. I haven't done a show in a while. Man, I'll tell you, it's been too long. I mean, way too long since I've been live doing the show with you guys. Remember, you're listening to Amp Life Talk Radio, a show for amputees and those affected by limb loss. If you are an amputee and you're dealing with limb loss, I want you to know you're not alone. Tonight is a show after a long delay, but I want to make sure everybody knows that I missed you guys, man. I've been busy out doing stuff, of course. Most of you that listened to the last show that I did, I was doing some Spartan racing, and we were lucky enough to be involved with the first ever Para Spartan, which was in Laughlin, Nevada. And I want to thank the people over at Spartan, Joe, Erica, Nicole, all the volunteers, everybody that put on just an awesome event. And my race team, Pat, Dave, Casey, man, you guys are awesome. So for those of you that don't know, if you can go over to Spartan TV, you will you'll actually see some of the footage from the race. And I think it's actually going to be aired on January 10th. So, and I also want to make sure you guys understand I have a little bit of an echo. Not sure why that's going on. It could be because I probably got everything up way too loud because people are telling me that you can't hear me. So I'm going to try and adjust some stuff as I'm doing the show here. And hopefully that'll get better. I have my sound control room in the other room that's sending me messages. Let me know. Let me know if that improved my echo a little bit, so I'm not so echoey to everybody out there in listening to me land, because I don't want to be too echoey and run all you guys away. But I'm over here trying to adjust some buttons. I wanted to say it's good to be back. I want to say also, thanks to all of you that have tuned in over at amplifetalkradio.com and made this show a success. I'm almost about to break 100 downloads, man. Woohoo! So hopefully you guys will continue to download the show and listen to it. Most of you know I don't do Facebook Live anymore. I'm now doing my shows on YouTube, and you can just go to YouTube and punch in Amp Life Talk Radio. And I'm actually live on YouTube right now. And if you subscribe to the show and sign up and do all that wonderful stuff, you can chat to me over here. So some of you will see me looking at this other screen. I'm gonna turn this off. I thought my little on the air light would be a little bit better, but you can probably see it better like that than it being on. So we'll just leave it off. So I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for everybody that supports the show. I'm thankful for all of you that listen. And I am so thankful for everybody that tuned into the race over at Spartan and checked us out. It was a great event, really awesome event. And I'm looking forward to more stuff with them. And I'll be bringing you information about that here in the future. So tonight, let's get into what we need to get into. I prepped a short show tonight, and I have to kind of smash through this because I've got other stuff I got to do, got some phone calls I got to make. But I do want to get this show out. I wrote this show basically right after I came back from Spartan. And right after I came back from Spartan, I was having all kinds of emotions because it was such a wonderful thing to be able to do what we did with Spartan. And I felt so privileged, but I also, as we were out there doing that event, I saw so many people facing their fears, especially the able-bodied people and the para Spartans, the people with disabilities that were part of the para elite teams that were going through the Spartan course. Fear was one of the things that made me think about this show tonight, because In order to do a Spartan, most of you know this, you have to face some fear. Doing a Spartan is not an easy thing. Going out there and putting it all on the line and testing yourself, your will, your mental strength, your physical strength, it's scary. You gotta come up against some obstacles and do some different things. And not everybody has a twister in their living room or 30-foot rope to go climb. So you are facing some fears. And I think the biggest fear is the burpees, to fail and to have to do burpees, or to even think if you can get through, 5 miles, 29 obstacles, um, those things. That's just a sprint. We're not even talking about some of the bigger races. So when I came back, I thought about how it must have been for some of the people out there. And then I took that to another level. And what we do here at the show for the amputees that we try to address this show to, the average everyday amputee that is out there dealing with life and facing their fears. That is what this show is about tonight. So as we get into season 2, episode 43, and this episode is called Fear, I hope that you will get something from this show that will help you not only understand, but face your fears. Fear. Most people attempt to cope with feelings of fear and anxiety. They are like hand in hand, fear and anxiety, by avoiding situations or objects that elicit these feelings. Avoidance guarantees that the feared object or situation will remain novel and hence arousing, uh, hence fear provoking. The more you avoid something that you fear or that causes you anxiety, the more you avoid a situation, the more it's going to spread to other areas of your life. And soon you will be held prisoner by those fears. When you avoid something that scares you, you tend to experience the sense of failure. Every time you avoid a feared object or situation, your fear gains strength while you lose some. Every time you avoid a feared object or a situation, you accumulate another experience of failure and another piece of evidence attesting to your weakness. Well, tonight, I want to talk about how we can overcome some of these fears that you may have and start to live your life free from this fear. Mastering your fear. How do we do that? Mastering your fear. Mastering fear is not just for superheroes. Deeply rooted in the primal need to is the sense that threatens your survival. Deeply rooted in each person is a primal need to sense threats and surviving. We all have it. Some people, oh, it's my sixth sense. It's this. Um, Fear stalks us. Usually it's totally unwarranted. But to overcome fear, You have to be willing to face it first. There's no easy way. As I mentioned earlier, the problem is that most people cling to their fears because it's part of who they are. If you are, or if you aren't ready to face your fears, you probably won't. You probably will never get over them. You'll probably never transcend them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everything happens in its own time for each and every one of us. Well, if you're here listening to the show, maybe it's that time for you to face your fears. So let me help you take that first step to overcoming your fear. Awareness is the first thing. Awareness of your fear. Before you can begin overcoming your fear, you have to be aware of it. That your fear is causing havoc in your life. It's easy to get distracted to your thoughts and your feelings, to think that they all exist for some purpose, which could not be further from the truth. Or these fears don't have to be there. These fears are there, but they don't have to be there. You are not your fears. You are the awareness that experience it. Ask yourself a few simple questions while focusing on your fear. So you're afraid of something. You should ask your questions. Why am I feeling this feeling of fear? Why do I get so afraid of this situation or object? That will help you become more aware of the fear in your life. Identify. Get specific about what exactly you're afraid of. As an amputee, what are you afraid of? I could go in and start talking about all these different things, but I'm not going to do that tonight because I want you to use this show as a self analyst of yourself and why you're afraid and what you're afraid of, the situations or objects. Look at the pictures you have in your head about the situation that causes you fear. What is happening in them? What are you really scared of? Become an observer of your inner space, of you, watching yourself. Next, curiosity. I know we all say, while curiosity may have killed the cat, it certainly won't do you any harm when investigating your fears. So get curious. Get curious about what thoughts generate your fear. Where do you feel fear? How do you react to it? Again, be an observer of what's going on with you and in your life. The now. What are you lacking right now when you center yourself in the now? You realize that everything as it is, who you are, you naturally accept what it is. Tapping into the now can be as simple as just feeling your body and breathing. Breathing techniques help us become more aware of our self. Talk. This is a no-brainer right here for the advice that I'm giving. Talking, talk. Um, but how often do we actually hold the negative in conversations about things that we are afraid of with others? I think because we might be afraid of how others will react. But talking is a good way to understand and gain some reasoning of why we have fears over objects or situations. Talking definitely helps, but don't throw yourself a pity party. Use it as a tool to analyze why you feel these fears, why you have the anxiety towards certain situations or objects. Watch. Watching a movie documentary can be a very enlightening experience, such as reading a book. Sometimes it's nice to distract yourself from your fears, but if you really want to know, if you really want to find out your fear, read. Reading books, looking at documentaries, and other things that provide you with information may help you see that you're not alone, and it may give you some insight to what you are experiencing. This is one that most people probably never think about: diet. Your diet. Did you know that your food that you eat can actually have a dramatic effect on the impact on how you feel? All the sugars and additives, sweeteners, and other chemicals in our food have a surprisingly powerful effect in getting our body out of balance. Stick to clean eating, stick to a clean diet that suits you, meaning eat more fruits, more vegetables. Just eat a bit more of good stuff every day and see what happens. Put down the burgers, put down the sodas, put down all the bad things. Of course, you're going to hear me say it: smoking. Eliminate some of that in your life and just see how you start to feel. Positivity. And I think this is a no brainer here. Positivity. Whenever fear strikes, flip it over. My mama used to call it add a little sugar to that lemonade. Instead of thinking of something bad that can happen, why not think of something positive that can happen? What's a positive outcome to your fear? If you're thinking about public speaking and you're freaked out and you're scared, imagine yourself being wildly successful instead of failing horribly, of course. This is a very useful tool that could help you out. So I suggest that instead of thinking negative, bring a positive twist to your life and to your thinking. It may help you in some of these situations. Perspective. Learning to deal with fear is all about putting your negative thoughts into perspective. We tend to focus too much on a negative or on the negative. So, by looking at all the options you often realize that you're making, or the options that you have, may change that outlook, your perspective, realizing that you're making a big deal out of nothing. There are so many things that can happen that it's impossible for you to predict anything in life. We're not psychic. I was with some people this weekend that, man, let me tell you, they had every right to complain about everything in their life, but they didn't. Perspective. Surrender. Surrendering to what is powerful. Because as long as we try to change what is, we are constantly at war with reality. Hopefully, you got that. Surrendering. It's such as, let's just go ahead and put this out there. You're an amputee. I tell amputees all the time, especially new amputees. The first thing you need to do is come to grips with that you are an amputee, surrendering to the reality of your situation. Release control. We want to learn how to control fear. That is what we're all talking about tonight. We want to control that fear. Well, sometimes releasing that control can help us. We want predictability in our lives, even though that's impossible to do that. Where we don't have control, we experience fear. You ever heard somebody say, I feel like my life's out of control? I feel like I'm out of control. Well, sometimes you can't control everything. You can't control every situation. You can't control people. You can't control certain circumstances. But it is possible to control your emotions. So, releasing control can help us in a lot of ways in controlling fear. This is a very good tool for you to use if you find yourself fearful in situations. Help. Yep, you heard me right. Help. Be kind to others. And if you're shy, focus on helping people instead of being self conscious about how you look or sound when you talk, or maybe how you walk, or if somebody's looking at my leg, or they notice that I have a limp. Help. Helping others is a quick way to turn attention off yourself and onto the person that you are assisting or helping. You will no longer feel fear in those circumstances where you think all eyes are upon me. That is a big fear with amputees: body image. People looking at me, people seeing me. Use that to your advantage. Meaning, I believe we all go through uh, things for a reason. I get this a lot with my situation, but I definitely believe that we all go through things for a reason. My team that I was on when I was doing my Spartan, we had a guy by the name of Casey McAllister. And let me tell you, Casey has left such a deep impression on my life for who he is and what he's been through that he has forever changed me. Meaning, I believe we all go through things for a reason. Sometimes those reasons are things that you may not ever understand. That includes the fears we have. It also includes overcoming fears and learning the lessons that come out of it. Now, this may not be 100% the case for everybody, but when I look back at my challenges and my fears in my life, I see that more than often than not, they definitely deliver exactly the message that I needed at that moment. I was just speaking with somebody today about my experience being an amputee. And when I was going through it, completely different story. Now that I'm where I'm at now, the meaning of why I went through what I went through because of where I'm at, it makes sense. Model. No, I'm not talking about walking down the catwalk and going out there and flashing your tail. Model. I'm talking about finding someone who you can look up to, someone who had the fear that you might have, but managed to overcome it. Get in touch with them, ask them questions, pick their brain, find out what they did. Find yourself that model to help you figure out how to understand your fear, control your fear, be okay with your fear, move past your fear. Find that model. Now, the next one is a acronym, WTWTCH. I wouldn't even know how to say that. Now I'm going to say it again. WTWTCH. What's the worst that could happen? That's what the acronym stands for. What's the worst that could happen? If you are afraid of public speaking, imagine yourself on a stage with everyone laughing at you. How do you feel afterwards? You're still alive, aren't you? Life goes on. You've been in an accident, a trauma. You've lost your foot. You've lost an arm. You're still alive, aren't you? Life goes on. You've suffered a limb loss due to diabetes. You're still alive. Life goes on. What's the worst that could happen? I've lost my foot. I am living a very full life. I've overcome lots of fears to be where I'm at right now, competing and running in Spartans. It's amazing. But I had to overcome certain fears. And it does truly help you to understand when I go out and do a Spartan, what's the worst that can happen? Well, I can fall off a rope or fall over a wall, but I'm alive and I'm living and I'm out here having fun. Not that you call doing 30 burpees fun, but I'm out here doing it. I'm not sitting on the couch. I'm not feeling sad for myself. Understand failure. When you realize that failure is not the end of the world, you become free. It's the same thing when I did my first Spartan. I was so afraid of failing an obstacle. I was in terror, man. But hey, you got to do some burpees, man. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, it wears you out. You get tired. But once you overcome that fear of failure, you truly can become free. It's like Dave, the one-legged Spartan, put to me, and I finally get what he means by this. Let's go out there and have fun. And I look at him sometimes like, dude, you do realize we're doing a super, and it's like a long race, and there's a lot of obstacles, and I might fail and have to do a lot of burpees. But Dave has a way of transcending past pain and failure. In the middle of a course, that guy will make you stop at the highest peaks of a mountain that you've just hiked up and make you stop and take it in and tell you to remember this moment. That's what it's all about. We're going to fail. We're not going to be perfect at everything, but it's not the end of the world. Failure is just a stepping stone to success. And most of our fears are fears of failure, shame, or somehow not living up to the standards that society has put on us. You're an amputee. What are your fears of failure? What are those fears? Think about them. Write them down. Are they really the end of the world? It's a good question. Let's explore your roots. Explore your roots. What is the root of your fear? Where does these fears come from? Well, we're an amputee now. We've had something happen to us, had some type of limb loss. This may require some meditation. I tell amputees a lot of the times, I want you to stand in front of a mirror without your prosthesis on. What do you see? How do you feel? Look inside and ask yourself, when the fear started, why is the fear starting? What do you see that scares you in the mirror? If you're afraid of what you see in the mirror, how do you change it? What do we need to do to help that? That is where we need to explore the root of our fears. Take action. I'm an action taker, baby. And I know that fears are just fears. They are created by my imagination to make me and to make my reality seem scarier. And that's it. When you take action and face your fears, they become weaker and you become stronger because you realize that reality isn't nearly as bad as your imagination. Take action. Most importantly, breathe. I want you to breathe when you find yourself in a situation where your fear is taking over. Just take a moment and breathe. Your breathing can set you free. It can anchor you. It can help you control the anxiety. It can help you control the fear. It can help you vanquish and overcome most of your fears. I save this for last because it's probably one of the most simplest things that you can do and has some of the most powerful results of overcoming your fear. There is one thing that holds millions of people back each day from growing as individuals, achieving high levels of success, and becoming the best versions of themselves. What is it? Well, we're talking about it. Fear. Fear can be devastating to people. How do we, what's some of the things that we can do? Well, first, we went through a lot of key points at the beginning. Probably one of the best things that you can do, and all those key points help you get to this point. Rewire your brain. Rewiring your brain is one of the surest ways to overcome your fears and develop the courage that is needed to get to where you want to be. I, I firmly, firmly believe in this. Read some books, look at some shows that are documentary shows that are telling the stories of people's lives that are dealing with something that is similar to what you're doing. Rethink your brain, rewire that brain. It will help you tremendously. And yes, we're talking about amputation. You I tell people all the time that are new amputees, you had a way of doing things when you had all your body parts. You're going to now learn some new habits. You're going to rewire your brain to learn these new habits that you're going to have to do in order to live your life as an amputee. Rewire your brain. Have a well thought out plan. He who doesn't plan plans to fail. Have a well thought out plan. We begin to worry about overanalyzing situations. I know new amputees do that a lot. You're now missing a limb and now you're overthinking everything. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? What are people going to think? You're just overwhelmed. You're bombarding your brain. You're overloading your system. We need to have a plan and think about things. Set extremely clear goals for you to get back up and get back to life with a detailed plan on how to achieve those goals. After you have a well detailed plan, take some action. Taking action towards a meaningful goal or goals will help you achieve what you need to achieve to overcome stress, anxiety, and your fears. Fear creeps in and paralyzes us when we don't take time to plan our lives. We become rushed. Have a well thought out plan. We all know that as an amputee, it takes us longer to do some things. Plan your day. Do one thing every day that scares you. If you're an amputee and you have your concerns and your fears, it may be putting on your prosthetic by yourself. It may be, oh, I have not taken a step without my walker, or oh my goodness, I haven't been outside yet, or I haven't let my neighbors see me, or what are my grandbabies are going to think, or it could be anything. Do something every day that scares you, that will pull you closer to overcoming those fears that are keeping you locked away, that are controlling your life as an amputee. Not doing anything is the worst thing that you can do as an amputee. Not taking steps towards getting your life back. So do one thing every day that scares you. Be safe. I want to put that out there. Be safe. Common sense. But if you walk 5 steps you can walk, or see if you can walk 10. Things like that will help you start to overcome those fears, maybe gain better independence in your life. Step outside of that comfort zone and work on becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. And when you form a habit of doing something daily that scares you, your courage grows little by little. Soon enough, the barriers will, once that were holding you back, those barriers are going to just fade away. And you're going to be able to go do tremendous things. So I encourage you, get out there, make those bold decisions to let your fear not hold you back. Go out there and live. Don't let limb loss become a prison. Facing fears is one of the biggest things you will do as an amputee, especially a new amputee. Those feelings of shock, anger, frustration, sadness, and grief and loss are all common and normal for new amputees, even older amputees, particularly in the initial stages of limb loss. But don't let them become a death trap. Don't let them become a prison. It is so important that people take steps to tackle symptoms of depression, anxiety, and fear. It is so important to address those things and to let people know if you are feeling these so that you can get that help. My final thought to you, my friends, today as we close up this little discussion on fear is live your life. Don't let fear place you in a place to where you are no longer living your life. While I think overcoming a fear is a learned skill, I also believe that it takes time. If you find yourself rushing, take it easy. It isn't necessarily about getting rid of your fears, because resisting your fears only make them bigger. You will transcend your fears when the time is right. I want you to know that. You will overcome those fears when the time is right, my friends. I hope these steps will help you. I hope that they spoke to you today. And like I said, I wanted to have this talk because after being at the Spartan race, seeing people overcome their fears, and I'm going to leave you with this story. At the end of our race, we were all just kind of there relaxing, licking our wounds and just hanging out. Um, on one of the two last obstacles was a cargo net, and there was a young girl there, and I'll never forget her name. Her name was Haley. She attempted to climb the cargo net and she fell off the cargo net. Myself and Dave and some other people rushed over. We tried to help her. We all got up on the cargo net. We were giving her encouragement that she can do it. And this young lady, she started back up that cargo net. She got a little bit higher. And I'll never forget the look in her face as she was telling me she couldn't feel her. I couldn't feel my body. I can't feel my arms. I can't feel my legs. And I saw her body getting limp. And I was saying to her, don't let go. Whatever you do, do not let go. And she did. And she fell from a very high distance on her back. And I thought to myself, she's done. There's no way she's getting back up. That was a big fall. And wouldn't you know, that girl who was 17 years old, she was overweight. She got back up and she started up that cargo net. And we're all helping her as much as we can. And she kept climbing and she kept taking another step. She kept facing her fears, getting higher and higher on that cargo net. With every step, with every pull of her hands, pulling her body up to the top of that rail on that cargo net, She was facing her fears. She was crying. She was in pain. She was scared, but she didn't stop. She got to the top, and we all told her, just take a moment and rest, breathe. And she just laid there and she breathed. And I was right in her face, just looking at her. She had tears running down her eyes. And she was telling me, I can't feel my body. Everything hurts. And I said, I know. Everything hurts on me too. I just got done doing a race. But I told her, I said, you got this. You can do this. And I said, when you're ready, we're going to help you. You're going to do this. And I just told her, for right now, just rest and breathe. And after a couple of minutes, she was ready to come down the other side of that net. We all got together and we helped her. And step by step, clawing by clawing, pulling her, lowering herself down that net, she made it to the bottom of the ground. And I told that young girl, I said, I'm going to go the rest of the race with you holding your hand. You're going to do this. You got this. And up a hill we went, down a hill we went. She got through the monkey bars and she crossed that finish line, jumping over that fire. And that young lady right there, by completing that Spartan race, 5 miles, 29 obstacles of fear, she accomplished something that day that she will never forget. She faced her fears and she overcame them. That's what I want you to do, is to keep in mind that you've got it bad. We've all got it bad. We all have to face certain fears. And we all have to deal with certain things, whether it's, hey, I'm overweight, I'm trying to do something, I've lost a limb, but facing your fears, never giving up. That is the best thing you can do with any situation that you're in. All the things that I just talked about in this show, she had all of that encompassed in that obstacle as she conquered that obstacle. She had help. She had a model. She had all the different things that we just talked about. And what helped her the most to get past that obstacle and back down? She took a moment to breathe. She took a moment to breathe. Remember that when you're down and you think you can't go any further, take a moment and just breathe. My friends, I really hope you enjoyed this show, and I am so privileged and honored to be able to do these shows with you. I'm glad to be back, and I'm looking forward to doing more shows. We only have a couple more episodes before the end of the year, and we start season 3 of Amp Life Talk Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank everyone that I got to meet out at the Spartan race and all the festivities and everything that happened there. I encourage you, go check out Spartan TV and see the Para Spartan. And I hope that you will be encouraged and inspired by some of the people that were there and what they had to go through to get to the end of that race. I will be bringing you more updates from that. And my friends, tonight, my wish for you is to overcome your fears, no matter what they may be, and no matter how huge you may think they may be. You too, my friend, can overcome your fears and get to living a life that is fulfilled with joy and happiness. I wish you the best. I want to thank everybody for listening to Amp Life Talk Radio. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
You are listening to Sean Harrison on Amp Life Talk Radio, a place for amputees and those dealing with limb loss. The views expressed on the show by the host, co-host, and guests are their own. Always seek medical advice from a licensed medical professional.